Like, those are the things that
Man, that's so
don't
good.
wait for some future event to begin to start doing the things that
Yes.
are going to make, you know, sure that you stay healthy. Don't wait until you're 50, 60, 70 and say, oh, okay, now I'm going to care about
Now
my
I got to
health.
get myself in gear.
No, that is not. So I just think it's worth it to pay for preventive medicine. It's worth it to explore and ensure that this sickness isn't something serious. Welcome. This is For Better and Worth,
The podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you grow and build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka Young, and we're so glad you're joining us today.
All right, y'all, let's get into it. Hey, babe, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I think we're going to talk about something today that, I don't know, it's a tough reality in some ways.
It is my tough reality exactly right now, okay?
I think it's a tough reality for a lot of people. And unfortunately, it's an issue that touches everybody.
Yeah.
And so we're going to get into really talking about how, being ill it can be really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And what's crazy is it can be devastating to some families depending upon what you're dealing with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, the more severe the illness, it is more costly, more time consuming, lots of, medications and appointments and things to do. But, even just a simple injury or a short-term illness or even one trip to urgent care can be
Ooh,
expensive.
That's some trickery, that urgent care.
It is. It is. So we're gonna talk about it, and this is important because it affects your financial situation. It especially the more people in your family, or if there are allergies, or if there are even food sensitivities that can affect how you purchase groceries, that can be expensive.
It's funny because you're touching on a lot of things that we have personally encountered, with children, with ourselves, and when you start to peel that onion back, it really shows you that it can be expensive. And I work in the healthcare field, so I see it a lot.
Yeah.
And so
and I feel like the older we get, the more we're looking at preventive care. So that's the other piece of that is being ill is expensive. But what if you're not sick and all you're trying to do is prevent getting sick? That's also expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I just think about like people who take a lot of vitamins and supplements and
I count it.
All these different things that people take to try and prevent.
I got like 8 supplements right now.
Look,
okay.
man,
I count it.
I'm not mad at you because need you to be in one piece.
Listen, I need to be in one piece and not just one piece, one good piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not we putting these pieces together.
Let's talk about it a little bit. I mean, when I think about what makes being sick so expensive, there's a lot of things that come to my mind, even before you get to the point of being sick.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about like health insurance, that's a big deal. It's a big debate in our country and in people's lives, when you talk about health insurance. And we have been very, very fortunate to have really good health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But like even for us, we have a 24-year-old who still stays on our insurance because that's an expense that she just doesn't need to incur right now because she can stay on until she's 26, and we're trying to help her get going and be smart.
And premiums get more costly with larger families, but also the older you get, if you have to do this out of pocket, not underneath an umbrella of a company, or when you have Medicare,
I think you're getting into a whole nother topic right there, because that's what prevents people from retiring in a lot of ways.
Yes, it does.
Because it pushes the retirement age further and further out because people are concerned about health care.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are in your late 50s and you've been at your job for a long time and you have the ability to retire, people are thinking like, wait a minute, can I retire?
Yep.
But I don't have health insurance if I leave my job or what I've been doing for years, and you got to try and bridge that gap
That's right.
between retirement and Medicare.
So I got a question for you. So you've always said that you wanted to retire at age 59, 59 and a half, so, because
Right.
that's when you can access all of your retirement benefits. And the closer you get, the more I'm thinking about the healthcare
Yeah.
loss or between the age of 59 and a half and age 65 when you can get
Yes.
Medicare. So I'm curious, like, has your position on that altered or changed the closer you get to that time frame?
You know, well, considering that it's still a long ways off,
I mean,
you know, I still have time.
I don't know. Is that what's a long ways off? Let's just.
It's far enough off into the future. Look at this baby face.
You know what? You look good, but that doesn't.
Well, thank you.
That's less than a
You
decade
said
away.
that's beside the point.
That's beside the point. You're gonna look good
Right.
in a decade too. But I'm just saying,
But, you know, that black don't crack. Asian
yeah,
don't raisin.
yeah, your mother had really good skin. Like
Yeah.
you got good skin. You got that good gene. Okay.
But I go back to your question though, and I've thought about that because, you know, we are entering a phase in life where we are trying to enjoy life to the fullest, you know, but we've been on this financial journey and we have been very diligent about how we've moved. And I've always said 59 and a half was my out because I could access my retirement funds. But actually, as I get closer, I'm like, well, hold on. I actually start saying, do I want to do it sooner?
Sooner than 59 and a half?
Sooner than 59 and a half. But then I started thinking like, okay.
We got some other stuff to do then
Right.
before
It
then.
makes you really think about how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And to answer the question, it's made me really cognizant of what it would require. It would require a plan to be in place to bridge the gap. Because I've just said it like kind of haphazardly, not thinking about, oh, wait. From 59 and a half to 65, no health care.
No. What we're not going to do.
That's not going to work.
It's not wise. It's not safe.
Right. And so what I've been thinking about is, you know, we've been starting to look at, you know, putting money into a brokerage account to have monies on hand aside from retirement, aside from our emergency fund, to bridge that particular gap. Because we know that people who don't appropriately plan for that, they will spend on average about $400,000 of retirement funds for healthcare in retirement if you don't plan for it. And so if I'm talking about retiring before the age of 65, we really have to have a definitive plan in place that can help us bridge that gap. So that's where my mind has been going more recently as it relates to us doing that. But my question to you is, as I've said that, and as we, you know, get within the decade or the general vicinity of that,
without getting into specifics.
Right? How does that make you feel though? Like, how does that make you when you start to think about, you know, how adamant I was about that? I mean, what's your thought about it?
I mean, honestly, if you're not working, I'm not working. Okay, so you retire, I retire. I mean, so
you're not going on trips without me.
Hey, exactly. But also, I mean, I do in the work that I'm doing. I don't carry the health insurance.
Yeah.
So, and I don't plan to even. I mean, frankly, I'm not thinking that I'm gonna go back and be an employee of any sort, and so. That is not on our radar, not on my radar. And so I think this is our version of FIRE. This is our version of financial independence, retiring early. And should we choose to do that, not only my thought process is similar in that, yes, we need to like build up a larger reserve to bridge the gap, but also one of my things is I really want to have a vacation rental property that we're managing that generates income. It generates income. And that can also be a portion that's, you know, bridging the gap. Right. And so between those two, I'm sure we'll be able to get there. It's just putting those things into motion. We've got a couple of things to do prior to being able to make all of that happen. But I'm with you. I'll put it that way. Put it this way. I'm with you because you ain't retiring without me. But also, you're right. Like the game plan is clear. And I think your portion of that in terms of, saving in a brokerage account that's accessible, and my portion of that, which is purchasing a vacation rental property to bring in some additional income, I think they'll work together and we'll get there,
Yeah. I hear a couple things in what you're saying. And I hear, one, have a plan that may consist of multifacets. Like,
Mm-hmm.
saving in their brokerage account may be one, and having income generating property
Mm-hmm.
or business or something that creates residual income that can replace, income that you, and I'm not even talking about income loss, because we'd be able to tap into retirement funds, but it's maybe bridging the gap to pay for health care.
Sure.
So that additional expense that may come. But the other thing, I'll say this, the other thing that I am actually noticing is a lot of people are just waiting.
Waiting to retire?
Yeah, I
Oh,
see a
yeah.
lot of people who
Yeah.
are actually waiting until they're 65 or older
Mm-hmm.
before they retire, or they have one spouse
Mm-hmm.
that retires and then the other spouse keeps working to maintain the insurance
Yeah.
until they bridge that gap, and then they both can go on Medicare.
Well,
So
that's not going to be our story.
no, that's look, we've always said we are fire adjacent, but I think
Right.
like you brought that up, that
Yeah.
is definitely our fire.
Modified plan. We're
Yeah,
slow fire. That's technically what that is that we're not necessarily trying to do it early.
yeah,
We would be trying to do it at a later time. And the truth of the matter is that we didn't catch wind of fire, I would say, until somewhere in the last 5 to 10 years, not even 10 years. I'm sure it wasn't 10 years, at
yeah.
least 5 years. And
Or
so
we didn't know that it was called fire.
I don't, yeah. And
We
I
were
wasn't,
thinking we were thinking about stuff, but then when we actually put a name to it, it was like, oh,
well, and the way that it's defined, like a lot of people are trying to do this in their 30s or by the age of
yeah,
40, and that was never
yeah,
something
that
we were
wasn't on
thinking
our
about.
radar.
No.
Man,
So,
we were busy with kids and
yeah.
grad school and
Yeah, and the other piece of this, so we talk about having an income generating property, but also, having some money set aside that you can access. But the third part of this is just reducing your expenses. And that's our first step really, is to make sure that our home is paid off, because that's a huge part of our monthly expenses that'll go away and give us the opportunity to do that kind of saving and
yeah.
investing. And so, just to be clear, ideally it'd be nice to have your home paid off in
But let's
retirement.
let's talk about let's talk about more specifically, like, why being sick in particular
Yeah.
is so expensive, because those are just some ideas about how we can have health insurance and
Mhm.
health care as we age or as we go into a different phase of life. But when we talk about being ill is expensive, I think let's just break it down to some of the
So listen, let me
grassroots.
break it down on this need that I'm dealing with right now. Let me paint this picture, okay? So one random day I was walking the dog and came home, went to the bathroom, walking in the hallway, turned around, just normal, nothing extreme. I
I'm not.
wasn't.
I'm not. I'm sorry to be laughing.
Yeah, you gonna laugh at me. It's fine. I
Whew.
literally was doing nothing but being over the age of 40, honestly. Turned around and there you go. I was like, I felt my knee kind of catch. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And I still walked fine. And then when I started coming downstairs, I was like, oh, this hurts. And so I immediately called one of our medical professionals and I was
Hmm.
like, all right, you gotta help me out. And he does a really good job because he works the muscle and he kind of
And
lets
he
you know
works
what.
with he works with sports
Yeah,
injuries and
athletes
athletes and
and so I got a little bit of relief. He gave me some exercises to do and things like that. But then it was re-injured, and I ain't gonna get into that story. But it was re-injured, and then I found myself on this journey to figure out what was wrong with it.
hmm
And so I
So
went
tell
to.
tell the people what happened to the knee.
I think it's a torn meniscus. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
Oh yeah. Okay.
yes.
So so
You were telling all this long story. The girl done tore her meniscus just walking.
Well, and what I'm learning is that the meniscus is like a butterfly, and when you move at angles, so
Hmm.
not straight on, you wouldn't feel it straight on, but when you move at angles, that's
It's
where it
delicate.
hurt. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
delicate.
it's delicate.
Um, And so anyway, so that's what happened. But think about it. So I went to chiropractor. I went to physical therapy. I actually got a cortisone shot. I have been taking
And
supplements.
that's a couple $1,000s via insurance.
Right, but I didn't have to pay that out of pocket.
Right.
But I got X-rays. I've been taking supplements, my omega-3s and my turmeric. You know, those things aren't super expensive, but when you add all of that up, I just paid for this event, just the first half of the event, because I haven't even gotten to the second half. But I met my deductible, but still, that was over $400. All of those things I just mentioned. And then when we went out of town, and we were on the plane for 21 hours.
Yeah, long flights just didn't help. It didn't help that injury that
it
you
exacerbated it. So I came home from South Africa and my knee was swollen, my ankle was swollen for weeks, for a couple weeks. And so then I'm again on another journey trying to figure out how can I get this down. And so finally I'm on a stronger anti-inflammatory that actually is helping. But I've been taking baths and I've been doing ice.
You've been doing all the things
I've been doing
that
everything.
you know to do. But
and it costs money.
Right, but this is just one instance that at the end of the day, when you add it all up, if we go back and we look at our HSA, we will have spent, a significant amount on this one thing.
Right.
And that's just, trying to get your knee right.
Yep.
And that's not even talking about, we have, like we said, we have our daughter on our insurance, and she was having an issue with constantly breaking out, a rash. And so she went to a dermatologist, and they were trying to do a test that was thousands of dollars.
Insane.
I was like, wait a minute, you need to do
there's got to be something before this.
You got to do a
stuff.
skin prick test or some other test. Then whatever it is they're talking about, don't do it.
Because what we're not going to do is pay that bill, okay?
Right. But that was thousands. And this is really just trying to prevent things from happening.
And it's not major. Granted, I have really felt like this is the first major injury that I've had. I've had other little small things, but nothing super huge other than childbirth. And that's just natural, I guess you would say.
But I even think about how, the government is trying to change, legislation with Medicare and, all the different things that are healthcare related. Are coming into purview, and people are really, talking about this. But as individuals, it's almost like if you have access to an FSA, a flexible spending account,
right,
or a health savings account, what I would say is we've always leveraged those two things
and max them out if you can.
Right. And I know everybody can't do that, but if you can project how much you think you'll spend on healthcare in a year, put it in your FSA or put it in your HSA. And FSAs, we all know they have to be spent within that calendar year. And you do have a little bit of time after the year ends, like a few months, to use those funds, but they have to be utilized within that window or you lose them. So don't put more than you're going to spend because you could lose it. Unlike in HSA, you can put money in there as much as you want. I don't even know the limitation on how much you can put in it.
I think it's like $7,100 for a family, $7,200, yeah.
So you can put that into an HSA, and it is basically like an investment, but you can use it.
Yeah, you can actually not even take monies out of your HSA and have it build up. And then when you turn age 65, you can use that for whatever you want. So the coolest part about an HSA is that it can be this investment.
It reduces your taxes.
Yes,
it reduces your tax burden today because it comes out pre-tax. So then when you get your pay, your income is reduced. And if your income is reduced, your tax burden is reduced. And you can use that for healthcare expenses and not pay taxes on that money. Right. Or if you hold on to it in retirement, you can use that for whatever you would like, or you can use it for healthcare. Or in our case, if we didn't use the HSA money and just let it continue to build, that would be something that we could use to, well, at 65, we wouldn't need it. So
I mean, but that's the point. It's just another savings vehicle ultimately. And there are not, it's it's not necessarily called a retirement account, but you can use it for that,
Yeah.
So that's a way that you can manage your out-of-pocket costs, or at least reduce your tax burden on that, and then still take
And
care
I
of
know
yourself.
I know some companies will actually put money into your HSA or your FSA. They'll give you a portion or an allotment that you can utilize in it. So I would say if you work for a company and they have those offerings or those options available, definitely
Yeah.
explore them.
Yeah.
I think HSAs are one of the better options that are
Mm-hmm.
out there. And if you don't understand it, just go and get
Yeah.
knowledge, get understanding, because as soon as we had one available, we were like, boom, we're doing an HSA.
So you are in the healthcare industry, but when you were younger, did your mother know this kind of stuff? Like,
Absolutely not.
right. So like that's the thing. It took some learning, and I know this is your wheelhouse, and like you get into it and you're excited, but I'm curious on like how did y'all navigate that when you were
You
younger?
know, when I was younger, I've shared that we grew up relatively poor, so we were, a lot of times were on some sort of aid or
Mhm.
received, care if it was via, Medicaid or some state provided coverage. That's what we were receiving a lot of the time
Mhm.
until my mom got a job and she got insurance through her employer,
She had that good government job.
right? And then we were covered on her insurance until I became of age and I got my own insurance. So there was a time we were on, state provided care, be it Medicaid, and then we got on her insurance once she got a job working for the IRS, like you said, government job, and then provided care there.
Mhm.
But I think that's what's so important is I hope as people are, learning, they're just seeking insight, they're
Mhm.
seeking knowledge. That's why I think we chose to do this podcast even
Yeah.
because we not only want to talk about finances but relationships, just talk about things that matter.
Mhm.
And I think we are, an example of, just taking our life experiences
Yeah.
and sharing them because most times that's all you need is to see people that look and sound like you that have gone through some experiences to help you better understand.
Mhm.
And by no means do either of us know it all, but we are
We still
constantly
on our journey too.
in the learning process and trying to ensure that we make good sound decisions
Mhm.
and that we can be a good example for others to just maybe avoid some of the pitfalls that we've gone through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think one of the things that I remember coming up is that my mother actually took care of my grandparents
mm-hmm.
when they got to be elderly, and really my grandmother had a health situation and needed some care, and my grandfather wasn't able to provide that. So she moved in with mama, and then grandpa came because he was trying to be real stubborn and not come over. He was like, I don't need to
Right.
live with my daughter, no. And so he lived at the house by himself for about a month while grandma was recovering. And then,
Your grandpa in his red sweater. I remember
yes,
him
he had his
walking
sweater.
around looking like Mr. Rogers.
Yes, like Mr. Rogers, he had that red sweater all the time. It could be 80 degrees in the summertime. My granddaddy would have that sweater. But um one day he showed up at mom's house with some roses in his hand, and he was like, all right, I gotta be with my bride, I gotta be with my wife. And so then they lived with mom, they really until their final days. But what's interesting is I think about how there wasn't necessarily a hardship, but my mother having to navigate their medical care, but
Right.
also their expenses, and
And you saw that and
I
you watched
did.
that.
Yeah. So not only did she have to take care of her household, if you will, but she also had to take care of theirs.
Yeah.
And they ended up passing away with a little bit of credit card debt. Like I knew enough, right? They had an asset, they had a house, they had a car, but they had a little bit of debt. And when you don't think about, sometimes the stress of what that is to someone who's caring for
Yeah.
you. And so I think that's part of our motivation too, is that we just, not that that was it's neither right or wrong. It just is the
Yeah.
past that was our history. But now I'm like, you know what? I don't want that stress and strain on my kids either. I want to be able to have amassed enough, um, monies saved, money, dollars in accounts to at least be prepared, not necessarily to, I just want to make sure that money is not a burden that we pass on to our children. How about that? And so
I
when
think
you're
that's I
talking
think
about
that's the
healthcare, that's
big
a big one.
I think that's the big motivation for all that we're doing
Yeah.
is to take lessons from the past,
Mm-hmm.
take cues from what our parents taught us and the gaps that they had and things that they just didn't have exposure or experience with.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been filling those gaps by getting additional understanding and knowledge so that we can make more informed decisions as we've go from young adults to having young adults that we're training
Mm-hmm.
and teaching, so we can go back and look back at those life lessons. And though they may have been challenging moments, I think we can get lost in the challenge and miss the opportunity to focus on the lessons that came from those.
Yeah.
Because they were very helpful lessons in those experiences from the past that helped set us up.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always been willing to say, well, I don't know this or I don't understand it. And then we'll go out and we'll find the answer by engaging with a professional or talking to people that had knowledge on a subject.
Yeah.
And it's been a motivation for us, like you said, to put ourselves in position so that when our kids are ages where they have to care for us, it's like, okay, it's an easier path to go and maneuver. So
I mean, honestly, anything in life that you encounter, if you don't have enough money to make it happen, it becomes a different hardship.
yeah,
That is the bottom line. And so
man,
if I
speak
can,
on that.
I know that we can't eliminate it entirely. I know that money isn't the answer to everything, but if I can at least do my part to be prepared enough in this life, I'm going to do my best.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about preventive medicine. You know what I mean? So preventive care. I mean,
I think my biggest prevention is going to the gym. Like,
true.
I go to the gym like 5 days a week.
You are religious about it.
Yeah, because
really
I feel
are.
like, I want to make sure my heart is healthy. And, a few years ago, I went and I paid to have like a heart scan.
Yeah.
Because that was an easy way to see, if you had plaques or buildup in your heart and your arteries. And the best score you can get is a 0. I got a 0. I was like, yes.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
But that was part of the prevention for me.
Right.
Is to know.
Yeah.
And ignorance in this area is not bliss.
Absolutely not.
Like, you need to know because you can't do things about it if you don't know.
So, and you are a man who has always gone to the doctor. I know that for a lot of people,
especially people of color, there's an inherent distrust of the healthcare system. But I'm like, look, I need to go get checked out.
Well, and people are also afraid. They're afraid that if
Yes.
they go to the doctor, they're now inciting a health issue when they feel fine. And it's there whether you know it's there or not, right? And it's better to know than not know. I would rather catch something at an early phase than to, not know what to do about it.
Look, genetically, African Americans have a high exposure or high propensity for hypertension.
Mm-hmm.
And they say it's the silent killer.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel bad or, things, there may be signs or symptoms, but you can ignore it for a long time and you can end up dead as a result of it.
Suddenly.
So it's like, get that taken care of.
Right.
So you have to go and get checked out. And
I'm so glad that we have never had that as a tug of war between us. Like, you definitely take care of, when you see something or you feel something, or you always, every single year. Matter of fact, I actually think you've been better about going to see the doctor than I have. I'm surprised when I go back, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
There was a season where things were a little off kilter, and I'm like, wait, it's been 2.5 years since I've been to the doctor?
You better go get a checkup.
So it is that thing. You got to stay on top of that. You got to stay on top of those routine checkups, and even if it costs you something, dental care,
Yeah.
screenings, like you said,
Yeah, what is one of the, like I said, to me, the gym, going to the gym and trying to, be healthy, that's one thing that I can do. And we
yeah,
try to eat right.
yeah,
It's not 100%, it's not 100% clean, but
no.
we try. But what are some of the things that you find yourself trying to do, when it comes to like prevention?
Well, I definitely enjoy movement. I mean, going to the gym, walking the dog. I love all that stuff. That is yes, but the thing that I have done that's probably a little different is that I have actually embraced holistic medicines. I have had a woman who, does some holistic. Don't start no stuff. Why you laughing already? I can't even get it out.
I'm sorry.
But yes, I will go to the regular doctors. You go to, all of that. But I also see other people. I go to the chiropractor. I go to my muscle, PT, chiropractor, whatever.
I don't even know why I'm I mean,
But I have gone to naturopath, naturopathic
yeah.
medicine. I have gone to
I will
people
say
who do
you
that.
you do it all.
I do. I don't
You do it all.
discriminate. I don't
Right.
discriminate in my
You like,
healthcare.
I'm gonna go to the MD, the naturopath doc,
Listen,
the holistic.
she really helped me when
Yeah,
we.
she helped you with like gut stuff. And,
Yes, she really
yeah.
really helped me. Well, so here's the thing. See, this is the thing that I have learned is that when you know certain things affect other things, and I didn't know that I had gut issues, but I did
Right.
experience some acne on my face, and she looked at me and said,
But
I know
look at how
exactly what
pretty
that
look how
is.
pretty that face
Come
is
on
though.
now. But those probiotics made a world of
Yes.
difference, I promise you. So I have
You need some
been
healthy probiotics, some gut
listen,
probiotics.
listen. So, but she's the one who taught me that. And
Yeah.
so now I'm probably going to get back into a phase of, exploration and all of that because hormones, hello. So these are things that we need to know, and
Yeah.
preventive medicine costs money, especially when that stuff doesn't run through insurance. A
Right.
lot of the time
Right.
you are
But
paying out of pocket.
that's where we've been able to utilize the HSA
That's
and
right.
different things. And I think as people listen to this, the thing that I hope, I guess we're getting towards our make it worth it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I will hope as people consider this, and what I say is my make it worth it, is be intentional about not putting your head in the sand. Don't bury your head in the sand and say, well, ignorance is bliss.
It's not.
Go get checked out, first of all. Okay. And try to put good habits in place that can help prevent some sicknesses or ailments. But as they come, have a plan in place. And I think that's what I feel like it's redundant sometimes because it comes down to having a plan
Yeah.
all the time. And that could be the FSA or your HSA if you have insurance. And if you are uninsured, explore all the options that are out there to get coverage. And some people have coverage and they are considered underinsured.
Mm-hmm.
And so just have a plan, exhaust all your resources because, we've worked out we've been working out for 25 years.
Yeah, as soon as I had that first baby, I started working out.
Right.
And I don't think I have gone. Matter of fact, going to South Africa was the first time I went 2 weeks without some form
Yes,
of
but we
real
were
exercise.
doing like a lot of
We were doing a lot of walking.
yeah, a
Let's
lot
be
of
clear.
walking, a lot of movement.
I was also doing a whole lot of eating.
Look, I'm
I'm
glad
not
you're
even
real.
going
You're
to
being
trip.
real with yourself.
I'm not even going to trip. I was doing a whole lot of eating. But anyway, listen, no regrets.
Maybe it was safe that I got a little stomach bug early on because after that
Whatever.
I was like, look, what is that? I'm not eating that.
Whatever.
The food was great.
The food was good.
Yeah, the food was
So
great.
no
So
regrets over here.
right, but what is your make it worth it when you think about healthcare being expensive and what people can do?
I just want to be super clear. I mean, this is real simple. It's worth the cost. I mean, your health is so important. It doesn't matter if you get out of debt and you save for your future, but you
sick as a dog.
Right. Or you drop dead because you didn't take care of yourself, right? Like those are the things that don't wait for some future event to begin to start doing the things that are going to make, sure that you stay healthy. Don't wait until you're 50, 60, 70 and say, oh, okay, now I'm going to care about my health.
I got to get myself in gear.
No, that is not. So I just think it's worth it to pay for preventive medicine. It's worth it to explore and ensure that this sickness isn't something serious. It's worth it to go down the path of understanding, what you can do to remain, like to keep this temple in a good place. And there are a lot of natural ways to do that, but I think we have to do our part. And so we can't assume that, things are just going to work out with time. And so that exploration process sometimes costs money, and it's worth it.
Well, they say health is wealth.
It is.
So
it is.
It's it'll be something to reach a point where you have eliminated debt, paid your house off, got your emergency fund, and you've got all this stuff in place, but you can't walk, you can't move, you can't do any of the things that at that point you want to do.
Right.
And that's why, one thing I'm going to say though is I'm living today.
Yeah.
When I say that, people, I follow that up with don't abandon the plan.
That's right.
And just go off script and do whatever.
Right.
But you have to, and I say live today, think today and plan for tomorrow, because the actions you take today will affect your tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think we've really been about trying to be preventative, about doing all the routine things, because then it sets us up and we can continue to, have health and wealth together.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Being sick is expensive, but we can find ways to work around it.
Yeah, and I think it's the one thing that we didn't really talk about is making sure that we discuss it as a team and that we're on the same page. We know what's going on. We're not, behind the scenes spending hundreds of dollars on something that we haven't discussed, that kind of stuff. And I think that maybe could go without saying, but I'm going to just say it out loud because that's teamwork. And if I'm supporting you when you're going off and doing stuff and you're supporting me, that's helpful.
Look, I don't, that should go without saying, because when you come back, I'm like, okay, what'd they say?
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on?
That's right.
All right, what do we need to do? Because it is teamwork. Because if something is affecting you, then it affects me. If something affects me, then it affects you. And so, like, if we're spending money on something, that's one thing. But I want to know also that you're well, and because we got a lot more trips to take. I need you to be together
in working order,
right? In one piece,
functioning.
Trying to keep myself together for you too. So.
Well, this was also fun. This was so fun. I hope that this inspires good health with our listeners. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So until next time,
we're out. Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all of your support. So be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up to receive our free guide, The 7 Reasons Your Money Relationship Isn't Working with Your Partner, on ForBetterandWorth.com.
Until next time, we're out of here.